what's happening to the house now? Well, new owners are in the house right now. The house was recently up for sale a couple of years ago. It was purchased. The house was valued at $1.15 million. It was sold for $990,000.
Okay, damn.
This is still a very piece of property. The Historical Society refuses to talk anything about the house, the murders, anything. Because they're tired of the publicity. People still drive by the house to this day, looking at the house, seeing if they can see anything. All the owners after the Lutzes reported nothing going on in the home. They reported nothing. No hauntings, no nothing. So either they're all lying, which I highly doubt, or nothing has really happened in that house.
So after they left the house, the family,
yeah,
allegedly after the hauntings, was the house sold immediately? Were they buried in debt? Like, what the hell happened?
No, they sold the house in March of '77.
Okay.
After they left it, they never returned. They only grabbed a few things from the house, and they ended up selling it in 1977 for $55,000.
Got it.
They received some money from the profits of the book. I believe a little bit from the movie. But that was it. They continued to tell their story for years to come. In October 2000, the History Channel broadcast Amityville: The Haunting, an Amityville horror hoax, a two-part documentary made by horror screenwriter-producer Daniel Farrant. George Lutz commented in an interview for the program, "I believe this has stayed alive for 25 years because it's a true story. It does not mean that everything you said about it has been true. It's certainly not a hoax. It's real easy to call something a hoax. I wish it was, but it's not." After the Lutz family left in 1976, reported no problems living there. James Cormarty, who bought the home in 1977 and lived there with his wife Barbara for 10 years, commented, "Nothing weird ever happened except for people coming by because of the book and the movie." In the movie, oh God, the first movie, The Amityville Horror, came out in 1979, starring James Brolin and Margot Kidder. Made a lot of money and proceeded to make the sequel, Amityville Horror 2, The Possession. Then proceeding over the years, Amityville 3D, Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes, The Amityville Curse, Amityville, It's About Time, Amityville, A New Generation, Amityville Dollhouse, the remake, 2005 remake Amityville Horror, The Amityville Haunting, The Amityville Asylum, The Amityville Death House, Amityville Playhouse. It was mentioned in Conjuring 2, Amityville No Escape in 2016, Amityville Vanity Point in 2016, Amityville Legacy in 2016, Amityville Terror in 2016. So it was a really big year in 2016 for Amityville. Amityville Prison in 2017, Amityville The Awakening, that's with Robert Williams in 2017, and the Amityville Murders in 2018. The 1979 book, which is based as the most well-known of the series, which I told you starred James Brolin and Margot Kidder, portraying George and Kathy Lutz. The part of the priest who busts a home, renamed Fowler Delaney in the film, is played by Academy Award-winning actor Rod Steiger. The first three Amityville films received a theatrical release, while the fourth was made for television by NBC. The sequels were in the 90s, were released direct-to-video, and contained virtually no material related to the Lutz family or the DeFeo murders. Instead, they concentrate on paranormal phenomena caused by cursed items supposedly linked to the house. One of the famous features of the Amityville horror films is the distinctive pumpkin-head appearance of the house, which was created by two quarter-round windows on the third-floor attic level. The windows are often illuminated in the film, giving the appearance of malevolent eyes. The first three films were filmed in a house in Toms River, New Jersey, which was converted to look like 112 Ocean Avenue after the authorities in Amityville denied permission for filming locations. All throughout, not all of the films in the Amityville horror series are set in the former Lutz home in Oceanville, Ocean Avenue, the distinctive Dutch colonial house is traditionally used as the main image and promotional material. The 2005 remake of the original Amityville film was released with the tagline, "Catch 'em and kill 'em," referring to the claimed link between the house at Ocean Avenue and John Ketchum, whose name was linked to the witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts, but remains a controversial and elusive figure. This version stagnates the isolation of 112 Ocean Avenue by depicting it in a remote home similar to the Overlook Hotel in Stephen King's The Shining. In reality, 112 Ocean Avenue is a suburban home within 50 feet of other houses in the neighborhood. The house used in 2005 version was in Silver Lake, Wisconsin, while other location work was shot in nearby Antioch, Illinois. The child character Jody DeFeo, appearing in the 2005 film, is fictional and not one of the victims of the shootings by Robert DeFeo in 1974. George Lutz described the 2005 remake as drivel and sued the makers for breach of contract, defamation, and libel. He objected particularly to a scene in the film which Meryl Lee, named as George Lutz, played by Ryan Reynolds, is shown killing a family dog with an axe. The film also shows George Lutz's character building coffins for members of the whole family. The defamation claim was dismissed by a Los Angeles court in November 2005, while other issues related to the lawsuit remained unresolved at the time of George Lutz's death. The documentary My Amityville Horror was released in March 2013, which features interviews with Daniel Lutz, one of the children who lived in the house during the period in which the book and film were based. Lutz echoes the original story as told by his mother and stepfather. He also makes additional claims that both he and George Lutz were possessed, and that George Lutz demonstrated telekinetic abilities, and strongly suggested that George dabbling in the occult may have initiated the demonic events.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, something else we said, I don't know if you saw it on your... during your research, says the Lutz had a falling out with their lawyer due to financial issues. Mm-hmm. He, that lawyer that helped him out back then, has since said that the haunted house stories were an elaborate ruse by the Lutz family to get themselves out of debt.
Yeah.
So just their own lawyer is doubling down on this, this idea that they were trying to get themselves out of debt by selling the book.
Yep. Catherine Lutz died of emphysema, and George Lutz died of heart failure. Kathleen Lutz died in 2004. George Lutz died in 2006. The couple had divorced in the late 80s, but remained on good terms. During the period in which the Lutz family was living on 112 Ocean Avenue, Dr. Stephen Kaplan, a self-stylized vampirologist.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, you got to be self-stylized, right?
Yeah, you can't. I don't think there's a college course for that.
Yeah. Who's going to appoint you the vampirologist? Like, where do you even get that certification?
Transylvania University. I graduated at the top of my class.
Of course, that shit's self-appointed. Just wake up one day and you're like, I'm a vampirologist now.
Yep, I'm an expert on vampire killing.
That's it. No going back.
He's also was a ghost hunter, was called in to investigate the house. Kaplan and the Lutzes had a falling out after Kaplan said that he would expose any fraud they found. Kaplan went on to write a clinical book titled The Amityville Horror Conspiracy with his wife, Roxanne Kaplan. The book was published in 1995. On the night of March 6, 1976, the house was investigated by Ed and Lorraine Warren.
What year?
1976.
This is after the events of The Conjuring? Or before?
After the first Conjuring, I think.
Okay.
Right. In the movie universe, it takes place after The Conjuring 2, which is the Enfield. Conjuring 2 deals with the Enfield haunting in England, which we'll get to on a future episode.
Ooh, preview.
Yeah, this is a nice little preview right there. Together with a crew from the television station Channel 5, New York, and reporter Michael Linden of WNEW FM, During the course of the investigation, Gene Campbell took a series of infrared time-lapse photos. One of the images showed a demonic boy, which I told you about, with glowing red eyes and standing in front of the foot of the staircase. The photograph did not emerge into the public domain until 1979, when George Cathal Lutz and Rod Steiger appeared on the Merv Griffin show to promote the release of the first film. 112 Ocean Avenue was also investigated by parapsychologist Hans Hoser. The Warrens and Hosers suggest the house is occupied by malevolent spirits due to its history. The Warrens' visit to the house was depicted in The Conjuring 2. George Lutz registered the phrase the Amityville Horror as a trademark in 2002 and referred to it as the Amityville Horror on his official website. Lutz claims that the film produces embellished or fabricated events portrayed in the 1979 version in the 2005 remake. He also claims the producers of the 2005 film did not involve the family and that he used his name without permission. The house, known as 112 Ocean Avenue, still exists, but is renovated and the address changed in order to discourage sightseers.
To 108 Ocean Avenue, which is what, like 4 houses down?
Yeah, 4 numbers down. Yeah. The famous quarter-round windows have been removed, and the house today looks considerably different from its depiction in the films. The house in Tom River, used as the location of the first 3 films, has also been modified for the same reason. For the 2005 film, the version, the house was renamed 412 Ocean Avenue. The 2005 film remake states that the basement of the Lutz home was built in 1692, but the 112 Ocean Avenue, also known as High Hopes, was built around 1924 for John and Catherine Monahan.
Okay, so the house is not that old, but
No.
1920s?
1820s, yeah.
Okay.
The local residents and authorities of Amityville, New York, were unhappy with the attention that the Amityville Horror brings to the town and tended to decline requests to discuss it publicly. The website of the Amityville Historical Society makes no mention of the murders by Ronald DeFeo Jr. In 1974, the period that the Lutz family lived at 112 Ocean Avenue. When the History Channel made its documentary about the Amityville Horror in 2000, no member of the Historical Society would discuss the matter on camera. Episode of CSI New York, first broadcast in 2007 on Halloween, was based on the Amityville Horror. Entitled Boo, it features a house in Amityville where a family had died under circumstances similar to the DeFeo murders. In May 2012, the house was placed on the market for the asking price of $1.15 million. In August 2010, the house was sold to a local resident for $950,000. On August 21st, 2010, the party owner held a moving sale at the home, and hundreds of people turned up for the event. They were allowed to go inside the house, but not visit the upstairs rooms or the basement.
I see. And an update to the home. The Amityville house officially sold in February 2017 to an undisclosed owner for $605,000, which was $200,000 less than the original asking price. Mm-hmm. So, somebody's living there.
Yeah, and no reports of any phantom marching bands, pigs named Jody that stares out the windows, and people going insane with shotguns or axes.
None of it. Seems like it's been pretty smooth sailing since all this happened in 1977.
Yep.
74 or 5, whatever. 75, I'm sorry.
Yep. And that...
Is that it?
Pretty
Is
much.
that all the facts we have on it?
That's all the facts. All right. What you think, Ogul?
I think the whole story is sort of undercut and undermined by the lawyer coming out and saying that the story was fabricated because the family was in debt.
Right.
So, I don't know if there's much else to say to it, honestly. If their lawyer came out and said they made up the story, you know?
Yeah.
And if the family was really in debt, which seems to be true, and if they were just trying to get rid of the house, you know, at that point, they're just opportunists at, you know, trying to get themselves out of a situation where they couldn't afford to own the home any longer.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much my take on it too. It's a fucking hoax. It's a hoax driven by real tragedy and a family getting over their heads and thinking they can